Demonic Angel, and tonight I'm going to talk about a topic that I suppose I'll kind of give my personal thoughts on it, and then some classic kind of examples, and also just some really good history lessons, all kind of mixed up. So I'm going to film a ritual with Marquis Renove really soon, and I thought in my mind that a way to really connect with Renove, who basically has to do with rhetoric, and that's his big draw, but he kind of has this dark side, a demon with a dark side, right? Of you're warned against working with him when old people or really sick people are around, because he comes to Earth to collect the dead. So he's kind of like Samuel, Azrael, the angel of death, death personified, except it's kind of like that idea that through reaping these souls, collecting them, he collects all their perspectives, their life stories, and this really helps him become a master of speech, personality, kind of altering, but just this really confidence, and so that's really interesting. So then I was thinking recently about reviewing some classic psychology, and one of Freud's theories about it's called the death instinct, and Jung kind of has a more of a mystical kind of take, as you can imagine, but the idea is that we do things like we have children, we get married, in some cultures there's like rites of passage associated with age, almost like even like a rite of passage with getting one's driver's license, and like staying out all night driving around. These ideas that are tying us to different levels of basically individuation, but through the eyes of our culture. So part of that's culture, and then part of it's just kind of like, you get older, and if you don't have children, then of course you have this stage where you really become who you are as the set individual. Of course we all change even into old age, but that becomes less dramatic usually. So that set personality, it really forms in some core ways. So when that that's all these things that we strive towards a life. You try to eat healthy, and that is eros. So that's the association here. We have the duality. So trying to mimic life in any way, trying to create it, going through a rite of passage, as mentioned, that is anything that we're trying to do to connect our energy with life. But I thought about this, people, until fairly recently, in the last few decades, people still were really close to death. Death is Thanatos. Now, death in the death instinct has to do with things like aggression, self-harm, addiction, just some very obviously blatant examples that we're connecting with our inner desire. Desire is a bad word. Our inner, it's an instinct to mimic death, because that's the final ending, and death is the destruction of the ego. So while we are alive, through different various ways, we connect with death. We try to mimic it imitate it, connect with it. So that's Thanatos. And usually, though, I mean, like another example would be those thoughts in your head, like, you know, oh, I just wish it would all stop sometimes. You know, that's that mentality for that moment of connecting with death, Thanatos. So, you know, it's just that innate understanding that, you know, that destruction will eventually have to happen is the end result. And so, you know, I find that the people who think about death in a way, it can range. It could be something like they're kind of personal, introspective people, and they see these deeper meanings, kind of like Buddha, you know. And then, or they have, you know, they just have a lot of death in their life, and that forces them to, you know, therefore think deeply about that. Is a little bit different from the norms in our culture. We don't go out to cemeteries and have picnics anymore, even though basically in Victorian times up through, I think a lot of it had to do with the, you know, in modern times, now there's like recreation, you know, you want to go to shooting range, there's that. You want to go to an amusement park, there's literally a place for it. That wasn't really a thing so much, like, you know, you were just at your place in Victorian times, unless in kind of urban centers, it was just different. But, you know, the cemeteries were just beautiful, sprawling places that you could go and connect with, you know, not only just like the, you know, the spooky side of it, that's awesome, connecting with your loved ones, but just, this is a place to get clean air. This is a place to let your children run around. It's just vast grounds. And that kind of happened when cities relocated, in most cases, cemeteries to, you know, away from the inner cities and sort of to the side, so that literally you could go, you know, you're going to be able to step out of that city, that suburb, and you know, have this land retreat. And it's just, I think that a lot of people just are attracted to, hey, going for walks and clearing your mind in nature. But you know, we don't. I think in general we don't do that anymore. I mean, I practice a lot of this stuff because I'm a witch, but in general, that's not how it is. And you know, it some of the stuff I know about, you know, even spiritualism, which my grandfather was a part of. I mean, there was still a broad openness about, you know, wanting to understand or interact and acknowledge death, and I think that was a healthier kind of idea, because it's not, you know, it's not so shocking, but it also helps us kind of quell those, as we mentioned, destructive tendencies. You know, the, of course, the associated aggression and all that stuff. Anything destructive, so we can like by understanding, we can channel our energy into this more of a peaceful way. I mean, if you you know, you think about death and you make yourself interact with it, it's rationalization to your mind. It's connecting. And now, like without having that, that's really not. It's just so shocking when one day it does pertain to people's lives, and you know, shocking in that sense that we see a lot of like complete breakdowns, because there wasn't like that understanding that this is really going to happen to you, because it's so easy to get divorced from that idea in our day and age. Like, you can go for many years and not have somebody die on you. But, you know, it's like living in a bubble, but nothing is guaranteed, and engaging with death, thinking about it in some way, like we've seen, except for the, like I said, in modern times, not really, at least not in American culture. So, there just isn't that interaction, and I think that there should be, because I think it makes for more of a healthier person, to understand that will happen to you. In before Victorian times, in the Middle Ages, a lot of it, like cemeteries were more creepy with, skeletonized images on headstones and things like that. Kind of just, reminding people not to sin because death is right around the corner. But in a way, it became more than that, just this this reminder, memento mori, that we all will die, and you need to think about it. And so people did spend a lot of time contemplating it, even back then when it was literally, in every family, around every corner. People were in general like less afraid of death because they were able to experience it, and I hope in some way people can find their own ways to think about it and interact with death, because death is life, but this is the other side of it, and death is the fuel of the fire here, to being an individual. And once we become individuals, we're promised to die, and there's no escape from that. So the best thing to do is go with the flow of reality and harmony in that way. Now, I don't recommend just constantly inviting death into your mind and your psyche, because that can be very easily overwhelming. But I think that's all. It's all a balance, and I can't wait to show you guys my altar really soon, and my little ritual. A couple things. I will have my Patreon bonus video for November 2021 up within the next few days, because I just filmed it. And then I've had problems with the YouTube algorithm recently, like people writing some really sweet comments to me, and I just can't approve or respond to their comment. I can't go in and do that. So if you want to talk to me, just email me. Reach out to me that way, because, like I said, there's just a couple times where I just can't get to you. I think somebody called Abby the Witch wanted to talk to me. That's a really cool YouTube name. So I'd love to chat with you. And you guys can check out my Patreon page, and I'll see you all at the ritual.